Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, Jason Miles. Welcome to another episode of This is Revolution Podcast. If you are a returning listener and subscriber, thank you so much. So glad to have you here. Switching it up a little bit tonight. We're going to be talking about a game without the gaming materialist guys. They won't be here. This game is board game as well. I think I can cover this. I don't think you need Gene and Derek to hold your hands through this. But I do have another gaming specialist to help me out. You may know him as the captain of our movie nights here at TIR. Please welcome Jeremy Salmon.
Peace and greeting, y'all. Peace and greetings to the chat. Peace and greetings to everybody out there. Peace and greetings to the tabletop board games and fans everywhere.
Well, I'm excited that you hit me up to be my co-host for tonight. It was going to be me solo, but you know, I do like having a gaming specialist with me, and there's definitely some questions you want to ask. This game seems pretty insane. The guest hit me up right before I personally took all the social media off my phone, and I'm glad he did because this game looks like some ridiculous fun. This is the description from the makers of the game. Relive one of the funniest days in American history. Storm the Capitol is the world's first January 6th parody board game. Taze yourself in the balls. Smear poop on the walls. Get COVID again. Play as one of 6 patriot characters as you battle through the Capitol, hoarding ballots, taking hostages, and fighting the cops. Or assume the role of the Capitol Police and use every tool at your disposal to prevent the patriots from ascending to the roof with enough ballots to stop the steal. This is a real board game designed for 4 to 7 players, definitely 18 and up. Please welcome one of the creators of the game, Walker Behl.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome.
You for joining us tonight, Walker. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much for hitting me up too, because this is kind of awesome. I do want to get my own copy of this game.
Oh yeah,
I remember that day so vividly, mainly because I was to interview Mike Davis, the now late Mike Davis. I was able to interview him a few weeks later, but right when we were supposed to be interviewed, January 6th was happening, and he goes, I'm sorry, I just have to watch this town hall push. I can't do anything other than watch this. Also kind of a scary day, right? It's one of the days that I think the Democrats have used strategically to scare everyone into any sort of, I don't want to say political action, but I haven't seen anything like it since. You know, with all the protests we're seeing with Gaza, nothing comes near what we saw with storming the Capitol. Where were you when that happened? And I'm sure making a game out of it wasn't your first thought.
No. I was at home. I was with my parents actually, and I was getting drunk, and then
Always a good idea, especially on a Thursday.
Yeah, I was just watching TV, and then my dad, I remember, burst into the room, and he was like, he's from Cleveland, and he's got a funny accent, and he went, I gotta get on the TV, there's a coup underway. And
God bless the Midwest.
Yeah, mostly. So yeah, we started watching it, and I was kind of just like, holy shit. I don't think that I really was especially alarmed by it though. When I heard coup, I assumed that there was tanks and the military or something, but then it's just a bunch of fucking dudes. Yeah. I remember being really surprised that the military didn't show up. And I remember being surprised that like nothing happened really to them, most of all. You know, like I didn't really think that they were inside like murdering everyone.
Well, everyone had kind of evacuated, so we don't really know what would have happened.
Yeah.
And I definitely think we can't judge the poop smearing and say that everybody was there to smear poop, right? You know, there's probably some insane individuals there that would have loved to have taken a shot, maybe done some horrible things to one of the congressmen.
Yeah.
If you're going to crap on someone's desk, you know,
They
you're not all there.
They were the good ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I probably started watching it later on in the day. By the time like my dad like noticed it and then came in because he was sick of listening to the radio and then told me to turn on the TV or like switch the channel. I remember it was like dark out by that point already, so I think I think it was past the point of like of this building up into this violent like giant riot, and from what I could see it was like a bunch of like, you know, jabronis or whatever like hang out the side of the building, and I'm like, woo, and then they just wouldn't go away. And you know, I just remember watching that for a long time until we got bored and changed the channel because they weren't going away.
Yeah, I think jabronis was a good name for it.
Yeah,
that's an apt description. I actually know someone that was there, and she was taking video, like live streaming from it.
Yeah,
and Facebook took her live stream down, and then she just started posting pictures of it. And she was like, "This is a beautiful thing. Everybody's."
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of things went on that day, but the images that I think we're going to get ingrained in our minds is the Jamiroquai guy.
Of course.
And you know, and for me, it's also was it Ashley Babbitt? Was that her name?
Yeah, Ashley Babbitt.
Woman that got killed.
Yeah.
Like, the state's not afraid to use force.
Yeah, but we know that already.
Oh yeah.
And like that was the thing about this, like, you know, I've been to my fair share of protests, and it seemed like they were, I would just like couldn't believe how they weren't all killed. Like, imagine if we had done that.
I don't know if this is my take. If the state opens fire like that,
yeah,
that is the catalyst for something you don't want. You don't want 68 all over again, where you're killing college students willy-nilly. I can't see another protest having the audacity to feel that comfortable, because most protests on the left don't have people carrying arms.
Right. Yeah.
And feeling that emboldened to fight for an idea of a stolen election or lost democracy. Like, we can yell stuff in rhetoric, but as far as like actually just going there to like fuck people up, it's
yeah,
it's not the same. And I think there's a lot of people there that wanted to go there to fuck people up, and
yeah, I think leftists will bring, you know, fake little paper mache guillotines. They won't set up an actual gallows. Out front calling for the head of the vice president.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if we had showed up and brought guns to the U.S. Capitol building and broken inside, I think they would have killed a lot more people.
Maybe. No, honestly, maybe. Yeah. They didn't kill all the Black Panthers that walked into the state capitol with guns in the 60s. They definitely hid under desks.
Yeah.
Although one would hope that if you ever have any like non-reactionary uprising like that, they would think that you wouldn't, to take over did not involve just like literally walking into the actual building and kind of just sitting there like, okay, now we're in charge.
They didn't get the sentences too that some of the Panthers got, right? Panthers got put under the jail.
Plenty of them served time. I think some of them are still in there.
Big time sentences. Yeah. And these guys served some years, but Jamiroquai guy's out.
Yeah.
I think all of them are out, right? Who's still
isn't the Oath Keepers guy?
He's locked up for a minute, right?
Yeah. I think like for a really long time.
Yeah. Other than that,
I think you had some guys you had guys with more than a few guys. I didn't look into it, but I think you definitely got guys with records, and even like some guys who were like even like out, like from like stuff that had happened, like the summer, from like the uprising summer right before. And it's just something you mentioned that if nothing else, like the comical nature of it, of like, expecting to see like tanks and such, and hear about a coup's going on. I mean, this happened within 3.5 weeks before an actual coup in Myanmar happened, where they actually did have like, they had mechanized infantry rolling in. But it was just something about their lack of imagination of just kind of like, the government, we're true patriots. The government can't possibly, commit violence on us as if like, we don't have the entire history, not even of like cops and everybody else clamping down on U.S. veterans, of like just, all the way back to the Vietnam War protests, to even just how much the bonus army march on Washington and encampment there got screwed up. Like full on, like, they broke out chemical weapons. I mean, that full on like tear gas and such there.
Oh yeah. I was kind of shocked the military didn't get involved. I will say this, and I believe this with all my soul, that if anybody tried to protest like that again, they're opening fire on everybody.
Right.
That's what those trials felt like to me. I don't know if they felt like that for you, Walker.
I
like an excuse. Like now we have we laid the groundwork. Now we have the excuse that we're going to open up. Like, just so you know, you scared us, and we were afraid that you were going to steal all democracy with this coup attempt. So we don't want to have another January 6th. So any sort of protest to that size, once someone calls it January 6th, it's going to be open season on anyone. I feel that way. I don't know if you guys feel that way.
Yeah, no more dress rehearsals.
Yeah, that's a good word for this. This was the dress rehearsal for the real coup attempt.
Yeah.
2025, when Trump or Kamala takes office, it doesn't matter. There's going to be a coup attempt.
Yeah.
Violent calls with people like blood-stained faces of people screaming into streamed footage to put us back on the gold standard. Like holding up the 900 page, somebody had, printed out at their day job of like Project 25 stuff. See, look, we're all for all this stuff, including the stuff that that doesn't agree with the other stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody was talking. And what's so funny too, this is all happening after we're talking about defunding the police and the overstepping of law enforcement. And it was like, hey, we didn't have enough law enforcement. We have to have more intelligence.
And also equivalent at even before the defund rallies came up, all of the lockdown protests where you actually did have, talk about dress rehearsals, where you did have plenty of these schmucks showing up. In fact, the capital of my home state of Michigan, with like, dudes openly carrying ARs and all sorts of crazy stuff. Where it didn't quite, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, except the requests there were just so they could go back to, they wanted their Applebee's again, or they didn't want they wanted to reopen so they could force their employees to come back in and, do that again. And
they can die for the Applebee's.
Yeah. Right. Now, the like, we won't wear masks protests. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh God, I forgot
Yeah.
all about those.
Yeah, the masks are, or any sort of preventative health measure, are for
Yeah,
cucks.
You're
That
hiding
kind of-
behind your mask.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's the funniest one. I was always confused by, like, shouldn't anti-vaxxers like masks? Because if aren't they like kind of acknowledging that it's real? So it's
not
like, okay, I'm just gonna wear a mask then.
I think not when you're so wrapped up in the performative aspects that,
Right,
again, it's. I mean, how much of this stuff is, you know, a redo of 80s freakouts about, you know, compulsory seatbelts wearing, where some people, it's kind of a thing where, you know, it's like, well, you know, I don't care about dying. Where it's kind of, yeah, it's the performative braggadocio of, you know, how dare you force me to do anything like that? I will I will inject bleach and, you know, take the horse paste just to prove you wrong. You know, it's
Yeah.
I like the fact you brought up seatbelts, because I totally forgot about that moment where seatbelts were mandatory and the massive pushback on the idea of infringing on your civil rights.
Was that in the late 90s?
Oh no. That's I was
State by state.
Yeah, it was state by state. I was in grade. I remember I was in grade school. It was like before I turned 10, but I definitely remember that. And you can go back. In fact, even during 2020, people were, because all of those protests and all the reaction to it were. Oh yeah, some people also talk about like helmet laws too. It's the same thing. It is at some point. It actually at a certain point, I'm just realizing a lot of the stuff is kind of, I don't know, there's such I don't know if you could call it, you know, oppositional defiant disorder, but just kind of the whole, you know, F you, I wouldn't do what you told me, is runs such through the modern American thing that even, like, I think somebody was writing about when they tried to institute the Hays Code in Hollywood in the 30s, that they got such pushback because these were like such, you know, top-down strictures, where someone said had they, you know, had in Hollywood in the 30s, kind of like, you know, putting out these really restrictive production codes, had they not, you know, not mandated that, they probably could have gotten people to do the same things had they just not kind of like done it so loudly, if you will. But no, it is. It's so loudly. But it's the same thing. But it's just kind of a thing of like, you know, like F you, and kind of, you know, ressentiment is a hell of a drug, where it's one of the things, just by you have like the state, or, you know, the public government pushing forward these things immediately, there was a cadre of people who just reflexively lined up against that. So anyway,
you know, for me, it brought me back to the Branch Davidians and remembering what happened in Waco and how that kind of radicalized someone like Timothy McVeigh to do what he did in Oklahoma City.
Ruby Ridge too.
Ruby Ridge, like all that stuff was happening around the same time when it comes to like state involvement. That's why I always like want to remind people about like right and left and just like the state in general. Like when we think about state violence, yeah, we have a history of it. It's across the board. It's definitely bipartisan. They give no F's on who they obliterate. You know, people can say, well, the Branch Davidians lit themselves on fire. It's like, but that was pretty much over by the time they go up in flames.
Also, the summer of 2020 was one of those. Well, also with the related BLM protests before that, was how people realized or found out the hard way that tear gas is not a compressed gas, as if you have like a little tank of like nitrous or something. Mm. Oh no, it's a rocket engine. I mean, it's an incendiary device, and so that I mean, it's one of the ways why the tear gas canisters were effectively, more than likely, how the fires in Waco got started, because those things burn hot and burn hot enough to start fires. Because effectively, it's the same thing of, those things, they work like just little like model rocket engines.
Like a flare.
Yeah, it looks like a flare, only instead of like giving off light, you give off a lot of smoke and a lot of heat. And yeah. But but you know, fun memories.
Fun memories of state repression.
Yeah.
From the religious to the political left, the state will repress you.
Jason, how much did you want to cover about just the day itself, and how much did you want to like more lean on the game side?
You know, we've talked enough about the day itself. I don't think we need to rehash that day anymore. I do want to. I was more sad that Mike Davis didn't talk to me. I was all excited, dude.
Yeah.
I love Mike Davis. Loved. But I do want to talk about the game because it's pretty goddamn funny from just what I've read and seen because I don't physically have the game.
Myself neither. Yeah, I've not seen it. I don't think I'm out here in Portland with a yet. Oh, that's a good box. That's a good size box.
Yeah.
And wherever you're watching or listening, guys, there's links in the description to purchase the game.
Yeah.
Well, quick note: is the game actually in stock now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
yeah.
good. Just making sure, because I know it seems like for a while you'd go through cycles of.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about it. We had Joshua Citrelia on, and he has his own more of a role playing game. And yours is, would you say, more board game than role playing?
Yeah. It's not role playing. It's kind of like a party game, but it's 4 to 7 players, and basically everyone except there's the Capitol Police, and they kind of like set up the board, and their job is to prevent the other people from gathering 100 ballots and overturning the election. Everyone else playing the game is a patriot, and they have to break into the Capitol building and go through rooms, flipping desks and collecting loot and ballots, which all are worth a certain amount of points. And once you hit 100, you go up to the roof where Trump picks you up in a helicopter and you fly.
So yeah, not only oh god, I'm trying to. If I was a quicker pun maker, it'd be straight out of like it's both like ballots, but also a mix of like half collecting ballots, half Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. So I mean the ballot. Everything is worth ballots. We needed to have ballots in there because we thought it's just funny to be. We're just imagining ripping open desks and collecting these hidden ballots or whatever. But then there was the other things that were stolen, or as lore has had it at this point, stolen, like AOC's shoes, and then like
someone fucked the shit out of those shoes.
yeah. A big old shoe sniffer came in.
What is it? Fuck the soul out of the shit.
Yeah. But that's why. So those are worth 30 ballots, and you can collect those. So there's just like those things, and then obviously the hostages, who are different politicians and people from that day, that are also worth ballots.
Is Nancy Pelosi a hostage?
Of course. Yeah.
Just because I've been getting back into as a bit of personal history. I started getting into Euro games back in like the mid-aughts, and somebody gave me a copy of Betrayal at House on the Hill. It was my first little like Euro game to get it, so like that kind of a expanded board game. So I've been getting back into board games and other tabletop stuff lately. So I guess my question is more on if you could talk about the development of like how did you decide to take this kind of really just hilariously ludicrous thing and turn it into something where, and did you ever, when you started, did it ever occur to you that you would, at the end of this process, have like a sellout game that had its own Board Game Geek entry?
No.
All right. Well, asked and answered.
Yeah. Well, so I should get into how it happened a little bit then. But I'm happy to answer all that stuff. Basically, we started making it the week after.
Damn, really?
Yeah. My birthday is January 12th, and I was with my sister and my friend McCoy McDonald, who was with us, and we were, bored, and we were talking about what we could do, and he was like, it would be really funny if this is a board game, and so we were all like, yeah, let's fucking start making it. We have nothing else to do. It was still, COVID, and so we kind of just started, coming up with just like funny ideas. I think we basically started with the idea of, we know we want this to be a big board that you're traversing through, that's like a fun, exciting adventure, because it was a day of action, and so we want it to be like an action-packed, goofy, funny game. From there, we just started coming up with a million ideas of stuff that could be in there and characters that we could have. You basically just like fill up pages and pages of ideas of what could be in there and how you could kind of make it into something else. None of us come from a board game background at all. It's funny, the one game that me and my sister Z played, not the only game we played a lot, but our favorite game as kids was Clue 2 Museum Caper.
Look, when you see the board, when the actual board laid out, because I'm looking at now on the BGG entry, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's like that looks like an awful lot like the Clue layout, or Cluedo for our UK listeners.
Oh, is that what it's? Oh,
Clue and Ludo is how it's called. Cluedo on the other side of the pond, whereas here they dropped that part. But anyway,
well, Clue 2 is a art thief game, where this is really the if there was any game that we were taking stuff from, this one, but it's kind of the inverse. And in Clue 2, one person is the art thief, and they are like invisible on the board, but they have a map that they're tracing their steps on, and the other people in the game are going around and trying to find them, like bump into their piece moving around the board. And there are interactive parts of the map, like you can turn on a motion detector and a security camera, and if you're in a certain range of squares or angle from these certain things around the board, you are detected, and then the thief's player appears on the board, and then you try to get them. But they're going through these rooms stealing paintings, and there are locks that you have to try to unlock and all this stuff. It's just this interactive board that we were like so into, and we wanted to pull a lot of that kind of imagination into it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So this isn't the political version of Mousetrap, then?
No. Mousetrap, I have never played before, because I went to a friend's house one time to play, and the whole time it's not this thing that's set up. You set it up, and I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, the Mousetrap is a. You want to talk about just? I had Mousetrap growing up, and you want to talk about a thing where it really, it's not a game. It's a board with a brightly colored contraption on it, and maybe you and your friends have the patience to do any of the game parts before
It's frustrating. I worked at a homeless shelter, and there was these kids there, and the games you get are donated, and of course you're getting games that nobody wants to play, like freaking Mousetrap. I can't play Risk with a 5 and a 6-year-old, so
not easily.
I pulled out Mousetrap, and those kids lost their minds.
Yep.
And that was an everyday thing, was having to set up freaking Mousetrap.
I'm shocked you got a donated copy of Mousetrap that had enough pieces that you could actually
Yeah. All the pieces. It's old. I didn't realize how old the game is. Yeah, all the pieces were there. And those kids, I was like, can we do anything else? Can we like break windows? Like, well, don't you guys want to want to ride a skateboard today?
Storm the Capitol.
Yeah, you want to storm the Capitol with some rednecks.
Yeah, watch Shrek one more time or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, they didn't want to watch
Despicable Me, whatever. Yeah.
And it was like, hey, Jay, get with the game. So, can I take this game to the kids?
I know a bunch of people who our friend plays with her niece and nephew all the time, and I'm not sure, I think they're both under 10. I guess I can't say you. I don't know if I'm allowed to whatever. We know some
You didn't make
people-
the game for children, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I didn't make the game for children, but another friend of my sister, co-creator, is a Belgian woman, and she brought it home and she plays it with her children, who I think are like 10 and 12, and they love it because they think it's just like this great encapsulation of like American culture.
Interesting, really.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad that that's the import that we have, is like all, like Jeremy talked about, there's a real coup in Myanmar, and our coups are like a bunch of people with like big pickup trucks and like thin blue line stickers.
Yeah.
Pink 45s. Just.
Yeah. I mean, but I appreciate that they think of it as like a insight into American culture, because I mean it's a satire, it's parody. We made this game to ultimately to cause people joy, and make them laugh. I don't think that they're like, oh, this is what I don't mean American culture in that American culture is January 6th. I mean the cards are all making fun of different aspects of American culture.
American cultural references.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, not even necessarily pop culture, but just, yeah. I mean, it is ultimately, yeah, do I think that the state of this country is depressing? Absolutely. That's why we made this. But, like, it's a chance to laugh at that.
What has depressed you more since January 6th? Is the impetus for you guys? Like, let's just do something we've never effing done before. This or this current election? Because when I saw Hulk Hogan rip off his shirt, I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, mask off moment for America now.
Yeah. That was crazy, but that didn't even seem that out of the ordinary to me at this point.
Nope.
With like Trump. I was just like, yeah, okay. I mean, there's obviously a different, you know, named date that has caused immense suffering that has made me more depressed than,
yes. The events in Gaza, of course.
Yeah. But as far as no, I mean, I actually maybe the debate.
Really?
I just like.
You watch that?
I did. I
watched
it. I watched it with Brace Belden and a bunch of those other people.
The New York left, the Brooklyn left pod scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a question about it too, but I'll hold on to it for a bit.
Yeah. I don't really know those guys except Brace, but I guess they all had to watch it for work. But you know, it's funny. I was just like, it was just such to. I was just like, what the? This is it. Like, this is, and they're not going to do anything about it. Like, this is just like, it was just insane. I was like, now I just have to sit here for months and wait for Trump to win.
And get yelled at by people if you don't clap hard enough for for the other guy to win, or if like somehow if you somehow voice any sort of like issue with this, it's if you're not all in on the popular front, it's now your problem and you're now going to be the reason.
Yeah, but I mean, I have been like, I got used to that, with Bernie and Hillary.
Yep.
That's like, all of this shit's already happened. It's just kind of like fucking sucks.
I mean, go back and watch the debate in '84 where Reagan admits to trading arms for hostages, and the moderator goes, "Did you just admit to?"
Yeah, but
he's like, "What?
Like,
what?"
But that's like exciting and cool.
Or not, I mean, I'm trying to remember.
An exciting, fun event. It's like, whoa, he just said that. It's not like, but like Biden talking was giving me like, it's, you know what? I was thinking about the debate before this interview. I've never been on a podcast before. I've never done anything like this before. And when Biden was speaking, he kept on stopping, and like it, I just felt like I was there panicking inside of him, being like, oh my God, they all know, but I still can't say anything. It's still happening right now. I literally am thinking about it right now, but I still can't say anything. And I was like, what if that happens to me tonight? Like, there's just this weird, like, just getting stuck thing.
Usually when people get stuck, it's because they shit their pants.
Yeah.
Like when Mitch McConnell got stuck. Do you remember when Mitch McConnell got stuck about a year ago? He shit his pants. Like, I don't care what anybody says.
He had a system shutdown on camera.
Yeah, when he just like that's the face that every child I've ever had makes when they're standing in a corner about to shit themselves.
Oh man, I really wish I have a Joe Biden "Who Shit My Pants" shirt, which I was wearing right now.
That the doddering old men have kind of been around for a while in our political imagination, but I think over the years we've made Reagan into a figure more than the cipher that he was, and we forget how off that he was when he spoke. He did it better because he spoke professionally, unlike Joe Biden, who's never been a really good public speaker. He's always been really bad at it. Which is so funny that he became president to me. Like, remember when he was running for office and he was talking in front of all those black people? Black people's almost as good as white people. Not quite there, just a little bit less than. But I don't mind.
But I'm willing to say it to you.
All the what was the guy's name? Corn Pop?
Oh, Corn Pop. Yeah, Corn Pop was a bad dude. Yeah, and what's even funnier is like they found the guy. So, or at least they found out who the guy actually was. So
it was a real person, right?
Yes, it was a real person. That was like,
probably the most. Remember, all the politicians had some weird story of like inner city strife. Like Joe Biden has to fight Corn Pop. Who's one of those black guys? Who was the black guy that was the doctor that Trump gave a position to that he had no business running?
Ben Carson.
Ben Carson had a story about stabbing his brother.
Well, I think
saved his brother's
didn't
life.
know that.
Well, part of it is also, I mean, so much of it is like, it's kind of like, whenever Trump talks about any city, about how, well, in Trump's case, it's kind of a thing where he's internally, his view of any city is like Manhattan is always locked in 1984, and and it's death wish. And it's like so many of these guys, they kind of like now like white flight septuagenarians who kind of either their parents got the heck out of cities or they grew up in the suburbs, and their worldviews were fully formed before like new urbanism, or before people started moving back into cities in the late 80s. So it was always like this like roach infested hellhole or something.
But do you feel though, this is a question to both of you guys about that death wish. It is the 50-year anniversary, by the way, Jeremy, and I'm going to be doing a death wish show. 50 years of death wish, because you can like the death wish movies as much as me, but you can't like them more than me.
I don't think you're going to be challenged on that, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Death Wish 4: The Crackdown might be one of the greatest Charles Bronson movies of all time. It's about crack. He takes out 4 criminal organizations by himself when he's like 60 years old. How do you not love that? But I agree with what you're saying. I think that sentiment is running again because we're seeing 90s politics all over again across the board. And it's fascinating to me that the death wish scenario, I was reading an article in the San Francisco Standard the other day that said crime in San Francisco, even car break-ins, are down below pre-pandemic levels, yet both mayoral candidates are still running on cleaning up the city. I just saw my kids a few weeks ago, and I stayed in Union Square. It was extremely, for the summer in San Francisco, that's like our tourist season. And
Union Square. Oh, is that in? There's
a Union Square in San Francisco.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a real one, and it's better than the one. because New York sucks.
No comment.
You're on a West Coast podcast. You didn't know that?
Yeah.
This is some Ice Cube, Biggie shit. You walked into some bow down shit right now.
Cool.
If I had the power to play NWA right now and Tupac, I would, but this stream would get shut down. Jeremy would crip walk all over the place. This is what you walked into, Walker. But staying in Union Square in San Francisco, I think it was like $70 for a hotel, like right in Union Square. A lot of the things that I had saw maybe 4 or 5 months before when I was down there were gone. And I'm not saying that it's better, because I know what happens. A lot of people got locked up. A lot of people got, kind of thrown in facilities. But the San Francisco that people like Trump want to portray, I walked all over the city, and there's always going to be, there's a methadone clinic not far from where I was.
Of course, yeah.
So there's going to be, some signs of blight, but to the point that it was maybe a year ago and 2 years ago, it looks very, very different. I can't speak for LA. I don't really spend much time there, but San Francisco, which had it bad. Oakland has it horrible. I feel like they moved everybody to Oakland, and that was like a sea of different Thunderdomes. Like, I was walking around Oakland too. I was like, oh, a different Thunderdome.
I think, it's almost like every metro has like the same kind of I don't want to say issues, because they all have their own kind of particularly weird setups. Like even the panic on the I live here in Portland, and kind of the panic. Well, first off, it helps. I think it helps to, and this has been talked about in the show before, and I think Derek Barnes talked about this too, and others. But how city names get thrown around as metonyms for problems. Like whenever you get like, in fact, this has been true forever. I'm now suddenly remembering. A weird Gen X brain thing. I'm remembering like there's a bit in like Dennis Leary's No Cure for Cancer, where he was talking about how the perception of New York City back in in the early 90s, in the what was effectively the pre-Giuliani days of New York was a cesspool, the filth and cesspool, whatever. And now whenever they want to, especially reactionaries, or no, not even just reactionary, but also like just rich, panicky, like liberal types, they will refer to the city as like this hellhole, because visible poverty is more of a thing. But I guess how it breaks down between whether you want to signal to Democrat types or Republican types, it's different. Like they will, a lot of people will just name drop Chicago, which not only means like, violent battlefields, like homeless black folks everywhere, but also corrupt Democrats, which is like one of those little implications I don't think gets enough notice. But also, for a while they were throwing around Seattle. It's like you don't want to be like those people in Seattle, those which is not racialized, because it means, I think for Seattle is always kind of like effete coastal, like latte sipping liberals. I think same thing too. Now it's now Portland is rendered in like the popular imagination as kind of this like burned over crater in ash because of that summer 4 years ago, and it's kind of live here, and it's like it's not quite like that, but we even have like local people who are now running for city council, and even like a guy, we have a right-wing GOP businessman, a guy who ran who actually sponsored an anti-mask and anti-lockdown protest. Washed, kind of had to do a little greenwashing, and now he's like running to be mayor of Portland and promising to clamp down. But also every city official, although not county officials, that's the weird thing. The county officials are actually much better. City officials is bragging about how they're going to, who can genocide the homeless people around here, quickest. But anyway, but I bring up, although I did have a couple more game questions if we could.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we can just talk about, like urban hellhole stuff, like all you want. But more in terms of I think one thing was, when you talk more about like the actual, like when did talk about like the brainstorming session and kind of like just the sitting around with a couple friends and just riffing on this thing. When, you know, at what point did somebody finally realize, or like how did it cohere into like, oh wait, this is, and maybe even like try to crowdfund, and could you also talk about I guess you really didn't need to crowdfund this thing because they thanks to a certain podcast, you know, that initial thing sold the, you know, that pre-sale sold the hell out before any of us could even get in on it.
Shout out to TrueAnon. Is that TrueAnon that helped you out, right?
Yeah. Shout out to TrueAnon. So yeah, that week when we were working on it, my sister made my sister is an artist. I'm come from music.
Metal, right?
Punk.
You think you're better than me?
Yeah.
Hey, there's you know, there is cross. Remember, there is.
You see the way he said it, Jeremy, like he wanted to fight.
Hey, I've heard Gangrene records. There's plenty of, there was a, or you know what Black Flag did for a while. There was a lot of crossover between the two for many years.
We talked about that on the
show.
Yeah. Anyway, so sorry to interrupt them.
We can talk.
I probably listen to more metal now, but but no, I come from punk. For some reason, I feel like that's important to distinguish. But
slightly different. Yeah, it is. You use slightly different effects pedals.
Are you a guitar player?
No, I was sang in a band called Crazy Spirit. So my sister is an artist, and she made a painting of the board, which we used for the first year, which was 4 by 5 feet.
Awesome, Jesus.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's like a Warhammer or like Warhammer sized table.
Yes, yeah. I did play Warhammer when I was younger. That's the other gaming thing that I had in my background. But basically, we came up with what the general gameplay was going to be pretty quickly, and then about a year into it, things slowed down. This wasn't like a 3-year-long sprint. It was, we had like a bunch of the early stuff. We were writing these jokes because the main part of the game is that when you're going through these rooms and overturning desks looking for the ballots, you either pick up prize card, it's an empty desk, or an event card. And an event card is kind of like the meat of the game. And the event cards are all little jokes that are actions, that trigger actions. And you have to roll dice or do other things that are like more outside the box. And they affect the gameplay.
Kind of like the random chance kind of a card.
Yeah, they're good and bad. Also, in the game, everyone is fighting against each other. There's no, good guy or bad guy. Like, even all the patriots are fighting against each other because you want to be the one who gets the ballots to Trump.
Yeah, you are fighting to be the one who touches the hem of his garment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Only one person can fit in this helicopter, and it's going to be me, kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so oftentimes the game bottlenecks towards the end of it, where everybody is, rushing towards the golden hallway, which is at the top of above the Great Rotunda, which is a made up place we put in there that has a ladder going up to the Capitol Dome where Trump picks you up. And you can steal ballots and kill each other in the game. And so kind of like oftentimes towards the end, 1 or 2 people will have enough ballots and they'll be racing towards the top. And the other players will notice that, so they'll go after them and try to kill them and steal all their shit. And it turns into this kind of like shit show at the end of it where you are about to win, and then somebody who's been lagging behind the whole time tases you, and you don't roll a high enough score, and you lose your last life, and they get all your ballots.
Man, this really is like a much bloodier Clue.
Yeah.
It's like Clue with PvP.
Yeah. Basically it was 2 years of kind of getting stuff on again, off again, and then I got sober during that time, and I had to.
Congratulations!
I had nothing. Oh, thanks.
Yeah, congrats. But that could be a hard road. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's chill. But I I had nothing to do for a really long time, so I had to kind of teach myself some graphic design shit and make a second version of the game so that we could start playing it more. And me and my sister, at this point it was just the two of us, we made a smaller version of it. And when we had made the first version of the game, in October of 21, Churunon was here doing a live show. I know Brace from Punk from when we were teenagers. And I told him to come over and play it, and he was like, oh, he was really into it. And so he was kind of involved for a while, but he still lives in California. And then once he moved back here, I had started getting really serious, clamping down the rules. We were playing the game several times a week with all of our friends and shit. We couldn't get any real game testers to play it because they were afraid of the subject matter.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm down with that, really.
Now, even there should be even in Brooklyn. You think there'd be enough people, enough hobby folks, even of somewhat
Dude. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
People. Oh no. I'm just. People are fucking terrified of this game. It's crazy. We weren't
That's a hell of a cover. That's a good pitch for the cover.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so I have a bunch of friends who work for a different game company, and so they had access to people. But I would ask them if they knew anyone, and we couldn't get anyone who would agree to do it. So it was just friends.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes board game enthusiasts.
Yeah.
But I mean, since then, 2 weeks ago, I went into popular board game store in Williamsburg, and I was in the past I've tried to reach out to board game stores, but just through email, no one ever responds to you. So I went in, and I was talking to them. And I was like, hey, do you guys take any board games? And they're like, yeah, totally. We'll play it. If we like it, we'll get back to you. And I was like, okay, awesome. People often think that this is a right-wing game. It's not. If you don't believe me, open it. I'm giving you this game for free. Open it. Check it out. It's pretty obvious when you open and see the first 2 cards in there.
And it doesn't, and that it doesn't come with a free red, it doesn't come with a free red mega hat or something.
Yeah. And so I'm waiting a couple days, and I get this email from them hey, sorry, the game doesn't, hit the mark. And I'm like, oh shit, I guess they thought the game sucked. That's a bummer. And they're like, it's kind of big, so if you want to, basically they're like, we don't want this. And I was like, okay. So I went in to go pick it up. I was gonna be can you guys tell me what you didn't like about the mechanics or whatever? And I go in there, and it's a different person behind the counter, and they're like, hey, how's it going? And I was like, hey, I'm here to pick up, I guess you guys didn't want the game that I dropped off. They're like, oh, what is it? And I was like, Storm the Capitol. And they're like, oh, yeah, here. And they just gave me the game back, and it was sealed still.
So they never played it?
No.
Unless they have a shrink wrap machine.
Jesus,
yeah, unless they have a shrink wrap machine.
That's wow.
I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all.
It's fucking crazy because
I think that
media.
But even like just I mean, I know board game people, and it seems like how would you prevent them from just beelining into like busting open the shrink wrap, even if it is even if they thought it was a cursed object or not. But
all it takes is one person. You know how this works. We've all had these jobs. Dude, this right-wing dude came in here with this MAGA game.
That's the thing with this game is there isn't somebody out there yet who has told people that they're allowed to play it.
Oh, so it doesn't have it doesn't have the valence either way.
Yeah, it's like people either it's funny we made it so that really like everybody could play it because it it's making fun of everyone. Obviously we're coming from the left, but we don't really like Democrats. We're happy to make fun of Democrats. There's a lot of just general humor in it. It's a fucking satire. Like there's this disconnect. It's like don't you like parody? I don't know.
No, there's like not in 20. You know why? Because we're living in parody.
Yeah,
so people don't get irony, which is ironic.
It's crazy. Like, okay, so we've been having a lot of trouble getting it picked up by like real media because when we were with TrueAnon, the New York Times came and played the game with us. They were gonna do an article about it. They played the game with us, hung out with us for 4 hours. With a photographer, they loved the game. It was supposed to come out, the article, on the day that the game was announced, and it was going to be like a companion piece that showed people that it wasn't this thing or whatever. But the editor killed it right before it came out. And
so they spiked the story. Jesus.
Yeah. And then there was just all these like Newsweek and the Daily Beast, the Independent, all came out with these weird little articles about saying that it was this MAGA game, and they just showed pictures of actual January 6th instead of the real game, and saying that we were like celebrating this thing, but they like managed to remove the humor from it. And so it's just like this weird situation where I am sure that a lot of these people on the internet who like on Facebook or whatever, like die in a fire for putting this out, you fucking traitor, all this type of shit. Like if they saw an SNL ad like that had a fake commercial for this game, they would think it was funny. But then we actually made that game.
Yeah, maybe it's almost like it's maybe it's a little too real or some shit, or it's all maybe it's like they were afraid of like getting infected with like Hitler particles or something just by getting just because you're conceptually near.
The perfect example of too real is a friend of ours saw it. We had it we've been going to some art fairs. We made a life-size version of the game that we played in LA.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And it went off really. That is so fun. But we're planning on doing this again. But somebody who used to work in board games, who worked for the creator of Pandemic, saw it and was like really excited about it. And he was like, well, I know this guy likes new board game creators and stuff like that. And so we sent it to him. This is post-COVID and or during COVID, whatever you want to call it. The creator of Pandemic was like, this game is too raw and current for me to do anything with.
And they put out
Pandemic.
They put out I saw it. I almost bought the Cthulhu version of Pandemic the other day. They put out a COVID version of Pandemic within a year of lockdown, like somewhere like 2020, 2021. There is like a little like COVID expansion for Pandemic. Jason, Pandemic is a massively popular game. That's a cooperative game where you kind of like work with specialists around the globe to solve a pandemic, and it's kind of like there's like 1,001 like expansions and reskins and other versions of that. But the fact that they were that terrified of it, and it was like too real for that guy. It's kind of it's like how much even for like game devs, like how much MSNBC do you have to mainline to be like that freaked out about it, or is it more like a second order thing of like they were freaked out about, you know, maybe like didn't want to I don't know. It just reminds me of like kind of like if you were an 80s kid who wanted to get any sort of like, you know, any sort of like nerdy or geeky thing, where like but the studios, you know, the more serious people are like, oh, we don't want to put out, you know, we don't want to put out this genre entertainment. We don't want any of your filthy money, or we don't even want to get involved in any of this obvious money maker. It's geez.
I mean,
does it speak to, though? Sorry to cut you off, but does it speak to though kind of a moment that we're in where we've kind of lost the ability to have to understand satire? Like there was a movie, God, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, called The Confederate States of America. I don't know if you guys remember that film.
That was on HBO, wasn't it?
Spike Lee produced
the
it.
Like alternate
history? Yeah, the alternate universe of like the Confederates actually won the Civil War, and they had commercials in that game of slave ownership, and different TV shows that would have existed. I mean, it's a silly premise, but to your point, Walker, I don't know if people could understand that premise today as satire because people are so faux serious.
Sure, I understand what you're saying, but so far in real life, when we've met people, they love it. People loved the in-person game, and they were like playing it like crazy.
Yeah, it's a game you can play with like up to 7 people. It's a full-on like massive party game. I mean,
I went to the Trump trial the day he was convicted, and I sold 20 games there.
Sweet, awesome. That was it was one of my follow-up questions about that kind of thing. Anyway,
the entirety of the Fox News crew bought them, and that like a bunch of ex-cops. Like the one thing that we are is like, like we definitely don't like cops, but these like ex-cop guys were like, oh yeah, I need this fucking game. This is so crazy. You did this shit, like blah blah. And then like.
The rioters, like they fucked with Capitol Police too, and even the Capitol Police were like massively like under resourced that day. And anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, and then I'm out there talking to some like German journalist guy trying to explain it, and there's like another weird like vlogger like right-wing guy like, but which side is it for, and there's this like Routers photographer who I just shown it to who's like, it's neither side, it's satire, it's just fucking satire. And I was like, that guy gets it, he's cool.
Oh man, if you guys make enough, please say there are plans to come up with a German version, because I want to see you guys get this shit over to like Essen and like submit it for like the Spiel des Jahres and like the big and like the entire like Brettspiel world, the real heavy duty or even like have you taken it to Gen Con yet? What was the response there, or have you hit there yet? Okay.
No, we haven't. I applied to Comic-Con. They were talking to me until I sent them the application describing the game, then they cut me off.
Jesus.
Gen Con, our manufacturer, Longpack in China, it was really funny making this game with a Chinese manufacturer, because on the one hand, they don't give a fuck because it's America.
Yeah, what do they care?
Yeah, but on the other hand, their entire consumer base is American for these board games. It was really weird. Apparently, there's not a large Chinese audience of board games. It's growing, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. But they were like, this game looks so great, and they posted it on their Instagram, and they immediately got nailed by all these comments like, you're putting this like hateful game, like this game is white power, this game is like right wing, this game is blah blah blah, and it's like, no, look at the fucking cover.
Just look at the sample cards on the back of the damn box. Go to it's on the website or on BGG. The entry that has
like 3 arms, a hentai-style tentacle penis, more heart conditions than you already had. The COVID vaccine side effects are endless and 100% deadly. And vaccinated individuals with their weakened genes are ripe for the pickings. All patriots must disclose how many shots of the COVID vaccine they've received. Like, that's not right. It's like very clear this is a joke.
It's like you're taking the piss so very like explicitly. But man, that is kind of a funny thought. If you ever make it to the resources where you can start doing localization just by like a German version and a version. Actually, I don't even know if the trade barriers allow you to. Well, I mean, no, you have a Chinese manufacturer. They might be able to like do a Chinese version of it. But I think it'd be hilarious that you come out with like they have like a version that's localized to mainland China, or even like I don't know, sell it in Hong Kong and Cantonese, and it becomes a hit there. But
I'm also sorry you didn't come out to Comic-Con, which is this weekend, I believe. And
I was talking about New York Comic-Con.
Oh, not the good one.
Yeah.
New York. The Comic-Con that isn't just movie stars in a particular hall.
Yeah, that's not. Who wants to go to that one?
The Comic-Con that has actual comics and board games and such.
Nerds.
But I don't know. And it's kind of thing where just it seems like something you. I mean, even if get enough fans together just to kind of like do like your own. I mean, like a very like DIY punk thing of like, oh yeah, we're gonna because like Gen Con has actually I don't even remember when Gen Con is nowadays.
I was gonna say if you were to go to a con like Comic-Con in San Diego is so insane, you could have just walked around. There's so many people outside. You could have walked around and
or PAX. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to a Comic-Con in Boston recently, and people were not into it.
Really?
The board game community is
weird.
They just like I don't know them very well at all really, but yeah, we haven't had like any kind of welcome from them. I know there's like there's like a kind of growing anarchist board game community also, but we don't have much contact with them.
Yeah. Side note, there's a group out. They were based in actually, I think they're kind of spread out now. They were based in Northern California. They were called the Tessa Collective. They were a board game cooperative that makes cooperative board games. They're the company that made, for example, they made Space Cats Fight Fascism. They're the ones who made a game called Strike, a game of worker power. They made a game called Coopoly, that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's definitely much more like, there are like lefty game devs out there, but it's kind of like, man, it's just kind of, it's the, man, wow, it's kind of like, that's much more pushback from like this like cursed object that's in a board game box, in a standard like Euro sized board game box. Like,
weird. and then I can see the names of the people who are buying the game. There are prominent journalists buying this game. And then also, like, an exterminator was helping us sell games, and like we gave a free game to the UPS guy because he had been picking them up from us and was so excited about it. Like, it's everybody actually likes this game in real life, but there's this weird like internet thing where people don't know what to do with it, and then it's funny.
I'm in Portland. Send me a copy. I'll help. I'll help I'll help do demos of it. We have like 8 to 12 local like game shops and bars. I mean, I'll help do local demos of it for free. I don't care. But I mean, Jesus, that's wow.
Well, Walker, it's been about an hour. Are you going to be joining us for the champagne room?
Yeah, sure.
We can talk a little madness. We can talk a little punk rock.
Great.
He looks all serious now. Like, great, yeah. I'm ready.
I do want to talk about like if you got just plans for stuff like I mean, because the number, I mean, yeah, you're in New York, but the number of rallies that are coming up of like just, loading up a truck. Because I remember, Bray said on one of the episodes about, you taking it down to the trial and just like, again, DIY, again, selling shit out of your trunk. There we go. Sell it out of your trunk. There you go. Like back up to it, open the thing up with like T-shirts in the board game and, start slinging.
We absolutely do that. And actually this weekend, if you're in New York City, I will be doing that in Bushwick at a garage sale.
Sweet.
At 682 Bushwick Ave.
Awesome. Mixtapes and
a bunch of games there.
Mixtapes and bootleg shirts and the Storm the Capitol board game.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little punk rock. Chris Contos, who I had the privilege of interviewing yesterday, formerly of Machine Head, now playing drums in Forbidden, says a little punk rock. You say he's also the original drummer of Attitude Adjustment. So was big time in the punk scene in the 80s in the Bay Area, punk and metal scene. We talked a lot about the crossover of those two scenes yesterday. And are you from New York?
Yeah.
Okay, so we should talk. Are you familiar with the crossover New York punk hardcore metal scene, or is that way before your time? I'm assuming you're young like Josh.
Yeah, I'm 35.
Yeah, so you and Josh are like babies.
Yeah, but are you talking about like?
I'm talking like before your time.
No, when New York hardcore was a much bigger thing, maybe.
Like before, like when Cro-Mags were doing it, like early on.
Of course, that's what I listened to.
Yeah.
Like crossover, like Leeway, and yeah.
Oh, by the way, does the Continental still exist in Lower East Side? Yeah.
Oh no, that's been gone for a really long time.
Okay, sorry. It's the only time I was ever in New York, well, with the exception of a work trip, was CMJ, but that was like that was like 20 years ago. So that's another story.
And I think we have to let this young lady speak for New York, as I've been messing with New York. Toussaint, do you want to speak for why New York is the greatest city in the world?
New York City has Queens, which has trees, and the most Asians.
And the most Asians, is that what you said?
Right.
That is not true.
I don't think that's
not have the most
either.
Asians. It's
not
true at all.
with the most Asians.
We have so many better Asians in the Bay Area alone. Our Asians way better than your Asians. That's why Catherine Liu defected.
It's the borough with the most Asians. To be clear.
And that's all you want to say as they're having the fire hose just got did they turn it off again, or did the kids open it up again? As they're playing on the street, there's a police officer, chasing some kids down, beating somebody up.
We leave the fire hose, the fire.
You leave the fire hydrant on just constantly
all summer. Just water everywhere. Kids
just
everywhere.
Nondescript Afro Latins just dancing around. That's what right. New York is to me.
That's right.
That's all that's going on right now. Outside of you and Walker's windows is just New York City. Walker goes, yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah. It's funny, yeah.
What were you gonna say, Walker? You don't want to say
nothing.
It now? Okay, it's like I don't want to say it other than me.
Well, what were you just saying about what you imagine New York was?
New York is a land of open fire hydrants and dancing Afro Latins.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Beat walking cops.
Right.
Horrible barbecue.
True.
No Mexican food.
Not really that true anymore.
I just don't trust y'all. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just don't trust y'all. DRI. Yeah, that's another good crossover band, DRI.
What is the fucking what's the New York crossover? I always almost say DRI or
They're from Texas.
DYS? Yeah, I don't really like DRI actually, but
so mean.
what is the Milano Mosh?
You're talking about SOD. Oop. Sorry, you're talking. Sorry,
that's New York.
SOD and MOD are both from New York, and the Billy Milano I think is in both of those bands.
Yeah,
those are like the Scotty and from Anthrax offshoots.
Yeah.
Is Jason just describing "Do the Right Thing"? Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Regardless of how many times I've been in New York, when I don't see Spike Lee's "Do the Right Thing," if people aren't walking on dolly shots, then that just ain't New York.
Yeah.
The January 6th. I would assume, Jen goes, did anyone ask if the January 6th hoes are loyal yet? I would assume that January 6th hoes are very loyal, because didn't a couple of those women go to prison?
I mean, they had to. Was it how many people were arrested? 1,500?
Jesus Christ.
They couldn't have all been men.
I'm sure very loyal. I think the January 6th hoes are extremely loyal. Also, probably extremely annoying.
Yeah.
But can you imagine what that must be like?
You know, funny story about sorry, I just remember this. When we did the live show, you know, one of the characters in the game is a Karen. And it says here I have some of the game right next to me, but she has a "fuck Biden" sweater on, and she's holding a smartphone. And so with the live version of the game, we had like full 5 foot tall painted wooden versions of it. And we were standing around at this art fair spring break, and these older people would come up, and there's these old ladies would come up and they'd be like, "Why does that say fuck Biden?" And I'd be like, "What?" And they're like, "I don't agree with the message." And I'd be like, "What message? What are you talking about?" Like, well, because I mean, if it's first of all just fuck Biden, I agree with that message. But I mean, like, don't you see the rest of this stuff right now? Like the Porky Pig cop and the I don't know. It just, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us, Jeremy and Walker and Toussaint. I do love New York City. It's a beautiful city. These are all jokes since, as Walker was explaining to us, no one understands satire. Jericho's jokes. No one understands satire anymore. Yeah. I do have a good time walking. I've walked around New York with Toussaint.
That's right.
As Jill Scott was playing, right? All the New Yorkers. Jill Scott was playing in the background. This is the most New York thing ever. So wherever you guys are watching or listening to the show, there are links in the description. Walker, you'll be joining us in the champagne room for some nonsense.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you guys very much. And thank you, Jeremy, so much for coming in and co-manning the ship with me. I really needed the help.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Yeah, too. No, but it's I didn't even I just saw you're gonna be on. I'm like, oh shit, I got a bunch of board game dev questions because I just dig the idea of just the steps of how do you take take this idea and actually come up with this huge ass box that at least you can bring to a store, and and then they refuse to stock it. But that's their story.
Can we watch House Party for the next movie night, Jeremy?
The first or the second?
First.
Shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. You gonna join us for a movie night one of these days, Walker?
Yeah, I would love to.
Have you seen House Party before?
I don't know. What is that?
Oh my goodness! You need to get more black friends.
See, there was a duo named Kid and Play, and Kid had had the top fade, and
he's only 35. He was not. You were born in what year again?
89.
89. Yeah.
Okay, so it came out
when that came out.
Yeah.
There's no way in the world. You're not supposed to know what this movie is. That's fine.
the first movie trailer that ever depicted an entire like string of multicolored condoms that was on there because those are in a shot in the film.
It's a very fun film. Toussaint, you've seen House Party.
Of course.
Well,
You got to do the dance too.
Oh, what if Walker saw it and all of a sudden he was doing the dance with his boys?
That's right. You got to.
Oh shit! Now we gotta show it to him. Now we gotta show it to him. All right, thank you guys. If you guys want to see House Party, let us know. I want to see House Party for no good reason.
Subscribe to the Patreon. Subscribe to the what is it? What patreon.com. It's Bitter Lake Presents. Bitter Lake Presents.
Yep.
All one word, lowercase.
And we are
out.